Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Our Thread, the podcast, bringing our content to you. I'm All It Is, and I'm here with my bandits, Beware, Cap, Doc, and Savage. And today, we bring you episode 27, Memento vs. Heat. Two movies that have lead roles that thrive off determination and risk-reward scenarios. Whether it's robbing a bank or seeking revenge for your murdered wife, these movies' characters do not quit. But the question is, what movie is greater? An old friend once told me, you want to know what greatness is? Then you have no attachments. Allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner. So I ask our Thread members to remember that while discussing these two excellent movies. Really quick, let me give a special shout out to tonight's sponsor, Canteen Vodka Soda. Canteen is crafted with real vodka, so that means no sugar, no carbs, and also no GMOs. Canteen has some delicious flavors you're not going to find in your everyday adult soda option, like Ruby Red, watermelon, and cucumber mint, a personal favorite of our Thread member, Beware. Find Canteen at your local store, or please request it at your local store from our Thread's recommendation. Folks, it's time to hit a score and forget what we're here for right after that intro music by Beware. Let's go.
I can't help it. I love you.
Forrest, you don't know what love is.
I'm not going to debate you, Jerry. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and debate.
You're a bald-faced liar. A fucking liar.
I mean, God forbid they should make a mistake and forget to steal.
I will not apologize for what I want.
Stop trying to control everything and just let go.
I drink it up. Don't bully me.
You like Huey Lewis on the news?
They're okay.
Either they don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood.
Hold on to your butts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Our Thread podcast, bringing our content to you, featuring All It Is.
It's official, old buddy. Well, has been.
Beware.
From then on, he was known as Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
The Doc.
You're the doc, Doc.
The Cap.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask? Big fuck.
And myself, Savage.
I'm 6'5", 220, and there's two of them.
Homework's in. Let's begin. 64 movies, all great on our list. And it just so happens Doc hasn't seen either of these movies. What a treat. I want to go to the Doc to see what he thought about these two films. The Doc is in.
Hey, thanks, Slick. I'd never seen Heat before, and when Sweet Amy and I were watching it, I kept going like, I can't believe I've never seen this movie because I really hadn't. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was just a good action kind of mano-a-mano kind of pair, like cat and mouse head-to-head type game, and super. It's not 95. It's kind of peak 90s action, kind of cheesy at times. But, you got chops in there with the actors and the characters, and impressive. I think Beware brought this up in an earlier pod episode when we were kind of talking about this, but like impressive that there's all these characters that kind of do have like their own little story arcs and stuff, and that's kind of, I think, rare in an action flick, again, a movie where you're kind of like, you can sympathize with both the bad guys and the good guys. And so there was some interesting aspects and just some badass scenes, which I know we'll talk about, some great quotes. So it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to talk about that. And then Memento had some amnesia because I actually had seen this before, but I had only seen it one time, and I think it was like back in like either high school or college, right around then, because it came out in 2000, I guess. Having this new lens of kind of like watching movies through, I don't know, man. It's good, and it's supposed to be complicated. It's supposed to be unique, and there's basically, you get flashbacks and flash forwards, and there's this kind of timeline stuff, which we'll get into. And all in all, I felt like it was just purposefully trying to be confusing. And I get it, because that's kind of what the main character, is, and his condition and stuff. And so it's kind of a guessing game like that. But all in all, I was felt like getting frustrated with it, and which again, maybe that's kind of what the point of the movie was. I had to watch it in 5 different kind of sittings. Like it didn't really do it for me as maybe as it once did. But I'm interested to talk about it more, and maybe some other discussants' viewpoints on it might help me kind of rethink my perspective. And maybe I was just in a bad kind of grumpy mood when I was watching it, so I wasn't completely appreciating it.
Doc, it's interesting you said cat and mouse. I'm assuming you're referring to De Niro and Pacino. I had Tom and Jerry like written out on my notes for how those two interact with one another. You wouldn't really have Tom without Jerry. Likewise, you wouldn't have Jerry without Tom. Same for Pacino and De Niro. I kind of thought that was kind of interesting. We had similar takeaways in that respect.
Have I told you about my condition? Only every time you see me.
Have I told you a story about Sammy Jenkins?
Cap, you kind of maybe insinuated you kind of felt the same way about Memento. Is that a fact with Cap?
Yeah, I had a hard time with this one, and I think I got it a little bit more the first time I watched it, which was around the same time Doc had mentioned, probably right after high school. It's a confusing movie. It makes sense if you sit down and watch it all the way through. I know that. The fact that the plot isn't that great, it's just a sort of a trick way to make a movie more complicated than it ought to be. And I think that it's kind of an exhausting watch.
Unnecessarily complicated.
Exactly. And not that much, the payoff isn't worth how intently you have to pay attention to what's going on to understand.
The juice isn't worth the squeeze for this viewing.
Exactly. On the other hand, Heat, I kind of agree. It's funny how like 90s movies really 90s you out. Like it's so like the music and the kind of the bigger suits, it's like the Michael Jordan suits that the shoulders are too big. I thought De Niro was pretty well fitted. He looked pretty slick. That movie is, I think, cool because of the scores are so like highly researched and well thought out and technically proficient. All the shit that they do to make sure, that it goes to plan, and what they're willing to do and willing to sacrifice to get the job done is impressive. And it's apparent that it impresses Pacino, and that's kind of the draw to the movie, is that like Pacino is the top guy and he's so enamored by these thieves. Like this is like, once in a lifetime kind of battle of wit between De Niro and Pacino in this movie. Tom and Jerry, yeah.
I was talking to Beware a couple nights ago that this is based off a story from Jonathan Nolan, which is Christopher Nolan's brother, a short story. I went to go try to find it. I couldn't find it right away. I think that would be an interesting read. I wonder how that would read if it'd be more complicated. Beware, what was your thoughts on Memento and also Heat?
I was really excited when the matchup came about from the hat. I was looking forward to watching both movies, and quite frankly, I was kind of let down by both movies. I thought both movies were a little bit of a chore to watch in their own right, where I think we've already talked about Memento's issues. I mean, you really have to have a lot of patience for that movie, and you really have to trust it's going to take you somewhere worthwhile. And unfortunately, in my opinion, like Cap said, it doesn't. It's all a ploy. It's a super creative ploy that's well executed at that, so it's a good movie and it's worth the hype. And for a first time viewer, especially, it's probably especially worth the hype, but it definitely feels like a chore watching it. But where that movie is unique and stands alone in its own right for its uniqueness, Heat is just a badass movie. Like it's just awesome. It's really good, but it's about a half hour too long. And I think it really has attention. It has attention to detail problems where it's really good at showing attention to detail and applying the family backstory and the pressure that the Heat puts not only on the person, but their family. And I think that's kind of why the movie goes a little long, because you're getting into such extensive detail on so many different characters. And we can get into that a little bit when we go into the characters, but ultimately it's a little bit long. And so that's kind of the rub on that one. And I feel like they both kind of at that point even themselves out. You know what I'm saying? They both have a little bit of a access, if you will, and ultimately maybe hindered my viewing experience this time. But that said, they're both very good movies in their own right, and I don't want to dog on them too much. Definitely hold up to a certain person, and I could see both of them each actually being a favorite movie to a certain person. I think that that being said, There's a lot of great characters to talk about in both, and I think we should head right into that.
A quick shout out to Trinity from The Matrix, Carrie Ann Moss. I like her. She's always very dark and she can be twisted. I think she was a nice supporting cast in that movie.
I don't know if nice is the word I'd use, because she has the most cutthroat scene ever where she is dogging out the dude so hard, and it was hard to watch.
I guess I'll start with Heat. And man, I guess I'll have to go with, I think Neil. I got to go with De Niro's character. I think Beware said the kind of, the heat around the corner, maybe it was his. Love that line. I feel like that kind of sums him up. Has no connections. He's very smart. You kind of learn a little bit about his background in that he's kind of done some hard time and is not going back, but he's got a talent. He's the mastermind, and that's how he's going to live his life until it catches up with him. And very smart, very slick.
You said slick. What does that mean?
Assembles a crew. I mean, there's one point in there where Danny Trejo character, they don't have him present and they don't know what's going on with him. And so I thought this was kind of telling about De Niro's character, that he goes to that diner and is hanging out there waiting on the call from this guy. And then as soon as that didn't come in, the reason he was at that diner is because he had his backup. The cook he knew was ready to go pull him. And so again, just kind of tells you about this character. He's got kind of moves lined up, and doesn't really sweat stuff. And he's got his close-knit guys that he kind of rolls with. And he had just kind of a smooth approach towards things. We'll get to some more of the scene discussion where I think his personality and his character really comes out. And, you see his character arc is interesting in that, you see him kind of meet this girl and you see him kind of start to explore that a little bit. And so you think his character arc is actually, maybe going to change a little bit. He might kind of get caught up.
I got a girl.
Yeah, I got a girl.
I got a girl.
But you see him take a hard right, and kind of his character arc is exactly who he always was the whole time. You see him kind of go down with it in the end too. And so I appreciate that. It was kind of a little tease, but he kind of followed his thing. I think apparently, I was reading, if you time it from when he goes to the car, sees the chick, and then he sees Hannah, it's about 30 seconds where he makes that decision to peace out.
He spotted the heat around the corner, man.
The heat was right in front of him. So yeah, no, I'll throw his name in the ring.
A Savage character.
I like a lot of the actors in Heat, but I feel like the one out of any of the actors out of both movies that I really wanted to see more of would have to go to Joey Pants as Teddy. I feel like every time Joe Pantoliano is in a movie, he's always the one that I'm drawn towards. And he always has some of my favorite scenes in the movies that he's in. And I felt like he really drove Memento along as the kind of primary / secondary antagonist. Every time that he was on scene, I really liked to see more of him, because I felt like that's when the story would keep kind of moving and moving, because like Beware was saying, these movies are both kind of, I found them both to be a chore as well, to get length and just confusion, kind of determining why that was. So yeah, I would have to go with Joey.
Ask a quick question, because maybe this might help me better understand. But with Memento, what was his role? How
he was a cop.
He was a cop. He was a dirty cop.
That's right. And he was trying to kind of help him along. He knew,
but he wasn't necessarily helping him. He was kind of setting him up. He was setting him up to go after different John G's.
But I also thought there was a case to go after, which was his.
Yeah, no, it helps him too.
But still,
dirty work.
It's weird. I never see him. He never has a gun for obvious reasons, so he's undercover. It is almost unconfirmed that he absolutely for sure is a cop. One more point I want to talk about, because Beware and I were talking about this. You think he's talking to Teddy on the phone. I don't think it is Teddy, because he does a quick phone call with him where he meets him outside, where it's obviously going in reverse. But I think on the phone, it's up for debate who he's actually talking to for the longest sequence of the phone call. Doc,
so I had no idea, from watching the movie, because that was one of my main questions, who the fuck? But I looked this up, and apparently it is supposed to be him. And the reason you're supposed to know that is because I guess at one point, and I don't know, this is just what I read, he kind of hovers his fingers as he's on the phone, over this kind of a number. And it's the 555, whatever. And it's the number that's on the back of Teddy's picture, Polaroid picture. So I think it's telling you he has this number, that he's calling or whatever. And that's the number that's on.
Was that your thought, Beware?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that it was them, and there was another line in the movie where Trinity says something. The cops just been calling you and messing with you, or something along the lines of that. And so that was kind of where I felt it was that, but it was truly difficult to grasp for various reasons, and obviously purposeful reasons.
I like that. There was a good narration
Right.
throughout the movie. It was a good character take up of the movie, if you will.
Yeah, he's definitely an unreliable narrator due to having memory issues. So that's kind of like how Joker, you see the way that he was interpreting things and it wasn't actually happening, or it wasn't actually playing out in real life. I kind of found it was similar for how it was interacting for him, because like he has that vision of him like snuggling with his wife, and he's got like the tattoos on his chest. It's like, well, why would that, why? Or one of them says like, I did it, or whatever. It's purposefully confusing. I don't really usually have time for that kind of, or patience more or less or aptitude to even like grasp like what the hell's going on.
I guess I'm attracted to that strange like time travel stuff that we kind of fill in the blanks doesn't make sense. That kind of just that twist that you haven't quite done yet. We were talking once again with Beware. We were talking about how it's like Nas Rewind, like the bullet goes back in the gun.
Call you God, just listen. I spit a story backwards. It starts at the ending. The bullet goes back in the gun. The bullet holes close in the.
You literally have never seen that type of cinematography where you go in reverse like that. So it's you got to give it up for the brilliance. It almost is the cliche of what makes it a great film. I want to go to Cap real quick for his character and kind of carry on that thought about maybe this cliche of a great movie. Like it belongs here, doesn't it, Cap? It belongs on this list.
Oh, I don't see why not. I didn't contest it for sure. When I remembered it as like a movie that I enjoyed when we were younger. I kind of feel the same way that Savage feels, is that I just fucking couldn't get into it. And it was the patience thing. But yeah, I guess, for characters, I would say that Neil's probably also my favorite character. Just to, I guess, touch on the other main role of Pacino, I thought his character was like respectable. I wouldn't say like he's my favorite character or anything, but like worth talking about. It's like the beginning of his like overacting caricature of himself 90s career that he thrived in. Like this one, like the Devil's Advocate, where he literally plays the devil. It's hilarious. You
Bunch
see
of
him,
raising
like,
his voice, but he does it so well.
Exactly. It's just she's got the big ass. She's got a big ass, or a great ass.
Great ass. And you got your head all the way up it.
Always yelling like that in this raspy voice, and he's supposed to be intimidating, and he's get to watch my fucking TV, Gary, or whatever the fuck the guys.
You do not get to watch my fucking television set. For God's sake.
He's such a cool. He wears all black all the time, and so does his wife. That's weird. I feel I didn't really care for the relationship parts of it at all.
What about the kissing and the sexy music?
Oh, it's the worst.
I'm gonna touch on it so much more.
So sexy, though.
All the kissing was terrible. It was so awkward. There's no like chemistry or anything.
Or whatever the fuck.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about? Jump around, or
yeah.
to be hip downtown LA club and
I quickly want to touch on that scene, and I just wanted to point out, and this was slightly touched on earlier, is that everyone in that scene is wearing a suit. Everyone. What club is there where everyone is wearing full 2-3-piece suits like that, and it's like a nightclub? Everybody in the movie Heat is wearing a suit at all times.
And aggressively running in suits the whole movie, running yards and miles in sprint. Pacino sprint, De Niro sprint, Kilmer sprint in suits.
It's so much. I'm gonna go roll right into my favorite character with that, and I'm gonna say Val Kilmer. Because how do you not say Val Kilmer, basically? I think that, Neil's definitely the best character in the movie, but Val Kilmer is essential. I really like how Neil rides for Val Kilmer so hard. He's his true top dog. You can tell he's been there with him since day one. And like, not only is like he his friend and his road dog in that regard, but like he relies on his technical aspects of like Val Kilmer's like this mad scientist in terms of robbing banks, it seems like. And he always has him along for the job. I love how he just takes the orders, drops things on a dime when the heat's coming, and ultimately he's like the strong, quiet type that just get done. You know, he's a soldier, man. And there's the heartbreaking scene where his girl turns on him, but then like Ashley Judd turns on him but gives him the hand motion, and then he proceeds to talk to the guys playing basketball at 9:00 at night, which is also very strange.
You guys know where I could get some meat around here? Is that what he says?
Right, if it is renting anything around here or something.
Hey, that little hand motion though is so sly. She does the little two-finger. Nope.
I also want to touch on John Voight, who is the quintessential like tip-off inside man. And as I was thinking about that, I just openly wonder, and feel free to throw out things like, what is John Voight's in this movie? What is John Voight's job? Like, why does he have all these tips? Like,
what would you say you do here? He's providing a lot of information.
I always thought he was the bad guy too, and he never was.
It's I don't get that. Like, what is this? He like work with a bunch of dudes that have contracts with the banks, and he's just a rogue dude.
He provide the jobs to him. He brings the scores, and then like they execute them. He brings the scores to him.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't know the extent of like how he gets the information, but we're supposed to assume.
Kind of like Keanu Reeves' character in whatever that new movie he is, like where he's a hitman or like he takes jobs.
Wick
doesn't make
John
any
Wick.
sense that there's that, but
Yeah, you're right. It is kind of
there has
like
to be
that,
some sort of, and we've had it in films where it's like a call, you call in or something where it's been more sly, like literally it's like an agency, like here's your job, or James Bond even. But you're right, it is kind of a fill-in character, even though he plays it so well because he's kind of shady. You don't trust him. I thought he was the bad guy.
He's definitely got a shady hairdo.
Yeah. And mustache.
Well, you look at him and I'm like, that guy must come up with big scores. Like that's what he looks like.
He's a retired scorer. Yeah. But pretty much every character I wanted to name was mentioned, but that's no problem. I think obviously if we're naming the whole cast of Heat, Tom Sizemore, Michael in there is really good. Kind of he's like the recovering kind of back to robbing banks, really good. But more so my characters, I want to give a shout out to all the beautiful women that we had in these films. I already gave my shout out to Trinity, Carrie Ann Moss, but also I'd like to give a shout out to Ashley Judd, Natalie Portman. Even though she's young in that movie, we know what she becomes to be, and of course she's in a savage scene. And Amy Brenneman.
Please welcome Amy Brenneman.
All very beautiful women, and all did a great job supporting their lead heavy choppers.
It's a chopper, baby.
That were all mentioned today in characters. Doc, did I miss any people that we should give some mentions to?
I think like you said, we hit on all the top ones, but I do have a couple things I want to throw out there. One is Waingro, man. Waingro's character. I thought he was so interesting, man. Just like, I don't know, just a bastard, a fucking evil dude. But apparently in real life, this guy actually was arrested and served time in jail or in prison. And all the inmates referred to him as Waingro when he was in prison.
I hate Waingro. I think he's a piece of trash in this movie. He plays his character great, the actor does, but he's written to be such a piece of trash. I really hate when he's got the prostitute in there and he says, you don't know what's going on? You got a date with the Grim Reaper. I just like, it makes my skin crawl.
And they had to make him a Nazi too, like, but
random Nazi.
He is just a random Nazi. He is a piece of shit. He looks like the biggest piece of shit.
Yeah, he does.
But I think he played his character well. What it surprises me, he's the wrench in this movie. You know what I mean? Like, he's a piece of shit that like
Yeah, he
fucking
ties it all together though.
spoils everything, you
Yeah.
know. And when De Niro's character gets greedy and goes back for him, that's what fucks his.
That shit is so tense, man. Is that not the most tense part of the movie? Even though you have the most intense shootouts that you've ever seen in movies, you could call the shootouts the greatest scenes in the movie. But we have something that's not a shootout. He's walking in the hospital. That shit is so fucking edge of your seat. Now, Beware mentioned that the movie is a half hour too long. Imagine if that came in at an hour 45 and it was just about to end, or like an hour 30 or whatever. We would have just a perfect package movie for like watching this action, fulfilling, cheap spot hitting, but brilliantly executed, especially 90s. But that scene has to be talked about, man. Super suspense. Since The Godfather, almost, going through the hospital there. Yeah, The Godfather is definitely better in that sense, but that's a creepy scene.
When are we in the hospital? A hospital?
The hotel.
Oh, is it the whole? I'm sorry. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess because there's so much fire
hydrants
hydrants and no, let's specify that it is
well,
definitely.
yeah,
a
there's like a hotel.
The cops
and
are
an
watching
airport right there. They run through an airport. It's like next door to the.
Yeah, and my
hospital,
comparison still stands. That it was the same thing as Godfather going through. Great scene. Cap, go ahead and just go right into a scene that you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for obviousness, I think that the opening scene, the first heist, is pretty cool, but obvious for like action reasons and like how they do it, and how they kind of show De Niro's first scene is just him stealing an ambulance, and like they go into like the detail. But like all that being said, the follow-up to that is when they meet at the diner, and then you get De Niro, he slams his head on the table, and then they go to basically take him out and pay him off, and they're just going to kill him. And then they see the cop. And what I'm surprised by is that De Niro takes his eyes off of him and they let him get away. That's almost like an unreal escape from that. It's a pretty tense moment. I guess just that opening, you're meeting all the characters and you're seeing like kind of who does what.
Yeah, quick character development in action.
Yeah, you're getting
great way
to a movie for whatever reason. This movie, it reminds me of like a movie like Zero Dark 30, I guess, is a little bit more modern, but it's kind of like this all-encompassing, like you're getting perspectives from all the different players. It's kind of jumping around, and you're seeing a broad perspective of this life.
Did anybody else catch me and Beware? We're talking about this. Is that heist when they're wearing the hockey mask? Very, very much like The Dark Knight. Is that not Beware?
Definitely, it's definitely The Dark Knight, and I think that Christopher Nolan is specifically quoted as
an interesting matchup, a trifecta of Memento. Sure. That's cool.
For sure. I think that he actually is quoted as saying that Heat is the bank scene is an inspiration for the beginning of Batman. And it's also got
reminds me of The Town too. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
character too, right?
Yeah, Van Zandt is the bank owner or the bank manager in the Batman movie actually, and he's also obviously in Heat. He's
you
a son
and your friends are dead.
Yeah. But the bank scene, I mean, it goes without saying that it's like it's the best bank robbery scene in any movie, I would imagine. Like, I mean, you can put it up against Dog's Day Afternoon, you can put it up against that Batman, you can put it up against any of them, and it's just excellent. It's so shocking, feels really realistic. I love when Robert De Niro hits the guy in the chest and rips his shirt open, and then like he starts bleeding and he says, "Don't make a move, let it bleed." And it's just like fucking so intense, man. And obviously the get back when they're getting outside and it all just goes to hell is insane. And fucking one of the most intense scenes you'll ever see in any movie. But I wanted to point out specifically the camera work in this scene and the whole movie, and how it really portrays the heat aspect of the movie. Like the whole movie is about like people closing in on you, and so the camera work really has to convey that the aspect of somebody closing in on you. Pacino closing in on the crew from 2 blocks away, he's watching it from 2 blocks away, closing in the whole time. Like as a viewer, you need to feel that, and they do a really good.
The ending is so like kind of like, where are you gonna hide? It's like, ooh, you feel
the ending's a whole somebody should be somebody else's scene.
Can I add to what you said about the I have a note here about that scene of the shootout that takes place in the middle of, right outside the bank. That must have been fucking awesome in the theater because those gunshots were just ringing out and it's kind of like echoing off the buildings.
Big time.
And shit, man, that would have been intense. And you're
Yeah.
right. That's a really good point that you made, by the way, about, the approaching. That's kind of like the leading into that ending scene where he sees him coming after him through the crowd,
Yeah. They do a few camera tricks, or like, I guess it wouldn't be camera tricks. It's like scripting tricks where like they've got an ambulance will come or a fire truck will pull in the way of the camera. So like as the viewer, you lose sight of what's ahead. So like you have to go around it, just giving you that depth perception even more. Or the airport at the very end of the movie with the lighting. It's like all a big trick just to be able to add to that kind of allure. It's really cool. They do a really good job of it. But ultimately the bank scene's like the epitome of not only that, but the whole fucking movie. I mean, it's
How
just
about the moment where Val Kilmer sees the cops? He's got a huge smile on his face. They've gotten away with it. He sees them, boom, he's firing. That's awesome.
Half a second.
It's worth pointing out. Yeah.
Just to conclude that scene, that whether it was somebody's favorite or not, we've talked about it enough. When he says,
Told you I'm never going back.
like, he's holding his hand. Robert De Niro is holding Al Pacino's hand. Oh my God. Like, that's a great movie right there. You're not going to ever get that again. That's brilliant.
It was actually the loudest scene too. I remember the gunshots. Sorry, I was trying to be extremely loud. I guess that joke failed.
No, it worked.
Oh, good. It worked. Okay, good. The scene out, the shootout scene had to have been some of the loudest gunshots I've ever heard in film. And I think seeing it in a theater, if you were in the theater adjacent to that theater, it would have probably ruined your movie experience because that's like a 10-minute long scene where they're firing off.
Let's put it this way.
bullets.
If we seen this movie in the theater today or when we were doing our homework, we would all be voting for Heat.
Fuck yeah.
Fact, no matter what. Memento would literally not stand a chance. It would get fucking gunned down through the fucking haze of fire.
We'd all forget about it anyway.
And however I don't know, Doc might have a fact on that. That budget scene had to be fucking crazy because it's in the middle of fucking the biggest city in the world. All this shit is fucked up.
So I don't have any facts money wise, but I do know this. Michael Mann waited a while till the studio was going to give him the budget to be able to pull this off because he knew it was top level. With the actors and the action and stuff. So absolutely. The stuff that you guys are talking about, the scene, like with the gunshots and it being so loud. So Michael Mann had set this up purposefully, unlike anybody had ever done before. Because usually with like action scenes with gunshots, those are like added in during editing and stuff. But what he did is they actually used kind of live round, or not live, they actually used blanks and stuff. Okay, and
Tom Sizemore died in the movie.
Yeah, so many people. Oh my God, he got shot right between the eyes.
You can still see the bullet hole on Val Kilmer's thigh.
That little girl lost her hearing.
Yeah, but what they did is they actually set up like audio like microphones either on the actors with the guns or like in areas where they were going to be shooting the guns, and they actually use those live audio recordings of the guns going off. So
get that echo.
Hey, craziest sound since Jurassic Park recording fucking bass lines for the fucking T-Rex. Hey, facts. We're still scening out here.
Hey, want to go get some coffee?
I'm sorry. I didn't like the fucking helicopter to the car just to get a cup of coffee.
He gets a lot of personal helicopter rides. He gets like 3 helicopter rides.
I hated that. Stupidest ploy.
I'm just gonna go into my favorite scene because it could be other ones that's been mentioned, but I really do like when they get coffee together.
Let's go back and forth. Let's get some coffee.
Hey,
we're sitting here. You and I are like a couple of regular fellas. You do what you do. I do what I gotta do.
I was gonna say, but I do like this kind of like, that was like the last thing I was expecting to happen. You want to see these guys, they're kind of facing off. Like we mentioned, like this cat and mouse. The last thing you expect is that they're going to just go sit down for a cup of coffee in the midst of still kind of like battling each other. It's
heavy
like,
conflict.
If it's between you and some poor bastard whose wife you're going to turn into a widow, brother, You are going down.
Heavy conflict.
Yeah, and the thing, like right after that conversation, they just go dark. Like they completely off the map. You lose it. They lose all contact with them.
There's a flip side to that coin. What if you do got me boxed in? Then I gotta put you down. Because no matter what, you will not get in my way. We've been face to face, yeah. But I will not hesitate. Not for a second.
There was some good conversation, some good points, some kind of like they were playing basically like chess with each other.
They made a big deal about that because it was the first time they were on screen together.
Yep.
So.
But there's some really good quotes from that. I don't know if now it's the time to get into it, but
maybe that's the way it'll be. Or who knows? Well, maybe we'll never see each other again.
Real quick, before we get into quotes, there's one thing I wanted to say about Memento. We really didn't bring up any scenes from Memento. And quite frankly, I don't think there are many scenes. I think that the fact that you see the same damn scene over and over again takes away from the fact that any of those scenes being good in themselves is kind of tough because they just get beaten up. But the scene when he's on the phone and he's getting the tattoo and you're slowly seeing him reveal what the tattoo is and you don't know what it's going to say. And all of a sudden, as he's just babbling on and spilling his guts, basically, the tattoo says, "Don't answer the phone." I loved that. I love that. It's total moment of shock in the movie where it's just like, oh shit, like I really don't know what's going on. And I think that it was like it really had me it piqued my interest in the movie, most definitely. And I don't know if there was any other movie or any other scene in the movie at all that made me feel that way. So I wanted to definitely point that out. And also really quick, while I'm on Memento, before I forget, what if this movie happened in 2020? It's a totally different movie because he just uses a cell phone. He just uses a cell phone and he doesn't have photos,
voice memos.
Notes. Yeah, like the movie doesn't even matter at that point. So like, I don't think the movie.
He records a rap. He records Nas Rewind. He's like, "Oh, the bullet goes back in the gun. We look for John G, but it's finally done. We met this guy Teddy, and Teddy came through. We told the guy clerk. He rented me 2 rooms. The 2-room clerk. He at least he was honest. I need to look people in their eye to know they ain't lying. So I met this dark-haired bitch. She pulled on my suit. I sat down, ate lunch with her, and she told me what to do. She got me the license plate, and the guy that was John G, that's my dude. I got a tattoo that says I got to fucking kill this guy soon, and I did. But when I got back in my car, I realized that, what am I going to do? I can't remember this far. So I might as well just make me another John G. So that's Teddy.
Drop the Polaroid.
He did that on his GarageBand app on his phone.
Hey, it's the remix, man. It comes back. The movie's over. Hey, it's a short film. Short film wrote by Christopher Nolan's brother. It only lasts 10 minutes. I rap on it. I don't know. It's getting confusing, folks.
So I was gonna save this for a quote, but since Momento's not getting much love, I figured this might be
Memento is not getting any momentum.
But the scene where again, it's kind of telling, but like, you're super confused, but he goes, okay. It's like all of a sudden he flashes to him and he's kind of, okay, so what am I doing? Oh, I'm chasing this guy. And then the guy shoots at him. He's like, oh no, he's chasing me. Like, I think that was kind of humor. If there was any humor, that was a humorous scene, but also kind of like really telling, like, this dude like goes in and out, doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
He's wearing old boy suit the whole movie. It's not his. It just fits him pretty good. Hey, it's a wide boy Al Pacino fit or a De Niro fit. Val Kilmer cut. I'm done.
Quotes. I like it when he says people get nervous for all sorts of reasons. It's all about the context. In Memento.
But even if you get revenge, you're not going to remember it. You're not even going to
know that it happened.
My wife deserves vengeance. Doesn't make any difference whether I know about it. Just because there are things I don't remember doesn't make my actions meaningless.
The world doesn't disappear when you close your eyes, does it?
I like with Sammy Jenkins when he gets shocked and he goes, "Test this, you fucking quack."
Oh. What the fuck?
It's a test, Sammy.
We'll test this, you fucking quack.
I like when he's got the picture that's of the girl leaving, Trinity leaving, and it's just terrible. And Joey Pants goes, "Nice shot, Leibowitz."
We've already talked about the television, but he says, I'm angry. I'm very angry, Ralph.
When I think of asses, something comes out of me.
That was the one I had written down. I love that. Any of the Pacino stuff is like that.
Who?
He says,
Who?
Who? Were you a fucking owl?
Yeah.
Yes,
You get killed walking your doggy.
Or there's a scene when he's going to that guy right before he goes to the club, but he goes to that guy to get information, and the guy's kind of fucking around, and he goes, "Don't waste my motherfucking time." I love that so much.
I really like when the detective that is actually Buffalo Bill, that I like it. There's like a really throwaway line. And it shows like the all the detectives at like a dinner scene eating with their families or whatever. And like they're just trying to add some color to the organization, trying to apply what the pressure of the heat, building that the family concept of the detective crew or whatever. And it shows the one of them, and he says, "Yeah, I knew this guy in high school put his fingers over each other, and then he'd turn his eyelids upside down." And it's just so fucking random. It's so like they just pass over him, and that's what he says. It's like one of 3 lines. It's so weird, man.
Awesome.
Hey, they're all wearing suits. They're in the bar, literally suits from fucking left to right, the whole fucking bar. I'm a good citizen.
I'm Donald Duck.
It's so corny, but does Pacino not just by, like we said, he has raising his voice makes him a fucking great actor, and his making out ability.
At one point, he just goes, "Hey, listen, you rat motherfucker." I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's probably the last time you hear someone say anything like bawling. Like he says, like, you can ball my wife if she wants you to. Like that's a term you don't hear anymore. That's when he's yelling at Ralph and then tells him he can't watch his TV anymore.
I say what I mean, and I do what I say.
I see. What I should do is come home and say, "Hi, honey. Guess what? I walked into this house today with this junky asshole just fried his baby in a microwave because it was crying too loud. So let me share that with you. Come on, let's share that. And in sharing it, we'll somehow cathartically dispel all this heinous shit, right?"
I have a challenge for you. Who can do Al Pacino mixed with Daniel Day-Lewis?
She had a great ass, and I drink it up.
I am a robber man.
I'll never quit.
Yes, I'm warm.
Oh, God.
It's off the rails. Pretty cool.
You never wanted a regular type life? What the fuck is that? Barbecues and ball games?
Yeah. All right, let's go to memorabilia. I'm taking the Jaguar.
I'm taking the picture of the dude pointing to his nipple after he murdered the guy that killed his wife.
I'm thinking Neil's house.
Neil's house is a good one. Cap?
I'll take the television.
Nice.
Before it's broken. Before he kicks it out of the car. Yeah. Those guys go, "What the fuck?"
If I would have paid to see Memento, I would have taken my money back.
Ooh.
Oh, that's fucking savage.
I really hated in the end of the movie how you don't get to find out. It's such a letdown when he finds out that you as the viewer find out that he is not killing the person that matters, that it already happened a year ago. And when Joey Pants is explaining that to him, he's like physically exhausted by like the whole scenario. I felt that that's how I was when I was watching that scene. I felt like Joey Pants.
Oh, then Joey says, "No,
it happened already, man. It's done." I was just like, oh my God.
The music, so sexy. Soft.
Moby. So he was on a few of the production credits. There's some music that was made for the movie, but it doesn't look like there's too much of it. But some of the original scoring had Moby on it, and then Kronos Quartet, which are a pretty awesome like jazz but classical. They did the score for Requiem for a Dream, so like that like very like kind of like futuristic sounding string quartet. So there's some decent stuff.
The sexy music kind of overpowered the actual action scene music, which is pretty damn good. I actually browsing the soundtrack today, and some of it was pretty sweet. I'm like, "Where's the sexy music?" It's literally the sexy music is one song on the soundtrack. That's like a 7-minute score, super sexy. But that's just what was most prominent to me, even though the rest of the music was pretty solid. What are the corny parts we're talking about?
I think the love scene and some of like the I think the music I think was kind of cheesy and sounded very dating. But
Right.
some of the lovey stuff, movies like that don't need to have that. Like we're not there for that.
No, I thought Pacino's whole performance was over the top, corny.
I agree with that too.
Like his whole tone is he's just too much. He like saw the opportunity to be too much, and he was like.
Yeah, I also think the whole like Natalie Portman storyline, I think, was just
unnecessary too.
Yeah,
Totally
that's
unnecessary.
true.
Like,
yeah, carrying.
What does that have to do with
carrying
anything?
It's the heat, man. It's about the pressure of not fucking.
Yeah, but
being able
that was a
to your
totally
family.
unrelated issue to the heat. Like
No,
her life
because of
was
the dad. It was he
by-
was trying to be a family man. He just
can't.
He couldn't find dedication to anything else but the job. He
Too much
probably
heat.
chose her in the end, even though he got his bust. He held his hand. I don't know. Yeah, I'd take fucking De Niro and Pacino holding hands over than Pacino kissing. I was joking. That shit actually did make me uncomfortable. That's why it's corny. Awards. Did the Academy just fucking go for one of these movies hard, Doc? I literally have no idea.
No, not really. So Heat didn't have any Academy noms, interestingly.
Probably because it's more of an action movie, and they never really get much.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
A
Sound
war
and
movie is the
audio.
action like movie that'll get an award, but action movies don't get awards. That's a fact, probably.
Yeah, but Memento had 2 nominations, nominated for Best Film Editing. Like there's 100 and some.
Christopher, no, hey, do you have the budget by chance on this film, Doc?
I don't.
I know. All right, I can actually estimate it though. It's his lowest budget film ever, and it was somewhere around way less than $1 million, definitely under 400,000, and maybe even substantially less than that. It doesn't matter, folks. Let's just know that Christopher Nolan has. You'll see videos that says how a person can make Inception and then make Memento, and he did some things in there, and he is one of my favorite directors.
So they were nominated. So both Christopher and his brother Jonathan, you mentioned earlier, like he was the one that kind of wrote.
He got a writing credit. That's awesome.
So they were nominated for best kind of writing screenplay. And interestingly, like they wrote this. It was loosely based on Jonathan's kind of short story, but they talked out the movie driving cross country and basically had it all figured out. Because Christopher Nolan was moving from like New York out to LA. And they basically like drove together and basically like plotted it all out. And I saw this really interesting kind of YouTube clip of Christopher Nolan. I had a chalkboard basically like sketching out like how they thought about it and how they do the cuts and kind of how like the color scenes are kind of going one way, the black and white scenes are kind of going this other way, in terms of kind of how they're kind of cutting between. And so it's interesting, and I kind of, like you start to see how Christopher Nolan thinks, and you start to, like you were saying, all it is like you see how he deals with time, and you see time as
always a metaphor on his staple, if you will.
Time's a heavy character for
yeah, he is. He's his own character. He has time travel as character. He has loops. I love that shit. I had a soft spot and a guilty pleasure for weird movies. That being said, I have to say I've kind of insinuated to, well, at least beware. I don't know anybody else that I was really, really strict with my vote for tonight, but I really had this thing today, chopping up clips, rewatching about 20 minutes of Memento just to kind of have it on and just, do some other stuff. I kind of had some similar things that my thread members and my discussants talked about in the beginning of the show, that this didn't feel quite right. That being said, when I watched this movie, I really enjoyed it. I haven't seen it in about 10 years, 8 years, and it went by quick. I really enjoyed it. I remembered. I kind of liked that I knew the catch, the spin, and that there's ending of Memento explained on YouTube. If you don't understand the ending, you're not putting it under the lens of greatness. That doesn't mean that it is a fantastic, perfect movie. It started Christopher Nolan off on a career path that was superb and will ever more so be superb. If it was Tenet versus Memento all the way. I don't know if y'all folks out there have seen Tenet. Go watch it. Tell me what you think of it. It's supposed to be one of those movies you have to watch a couple times. Same as Memento. I think, though, Memento is the first time view and the second time view. And by the second time, if you think it's fantastic, you love it. But if by the second time you think there's something maybe not quite right with it, you understand that it's not the greater movie. And that's why tonight My vote is for Memento. Or I'm sorry, my vote is for Heat. It used to be for Memento. This is the first time on our episodes that I've literally changed during the episode, and I feel very good about my decision. Heat, better movie than Memento. Nobody should vote for Memento tonight. That's just my opinion. Anybody go?
I vote for Memento.
I'll go. I'm gonna vote for Memento.
I knew. Hey, this is my applause. This is my. Hey, I got a score set up tonight.
No, I'm just joking. I I think the most interesting thing about Memento, obviously besides the editing and the cutting and just knowing Christopher Nolan writing it and kind of where it was going, I like the idea of like, can you actually get revenge if you can't remember it? Like, is that like that concept too? I thought was interesting that they were kind of playing with. But overall, I mean, acting was not great. Story was, I think Cap said this, story was meh. Like it was really the gimmicky telling of the story, making you feel disoriented, which although I get it and understand it, it just was more infuriating for me. And I just, it was hard to watch, but I get it and I appreciate it for what it was. But yeah, man, I gotta go Heat. Heat is
What did Sweet Amy think? Same thing.
Yeah, same.
You guys are on the same page. I love that. That's true love.
I think that like a movie like Memento is a good movie. I think it's an important movie to have, and I think we need to have that movie to have other movies, specifically other movies by Christopher Nolan. I don't think we get those good movies without Memento, so that's why I would vote for Memento. Also, I agree that the version of Heat that I watched was like an extended cut. Which
Me too. What did they call that though? It's called. It wasn't called extended cut.
It wasn't called extended cut. It was called like the final.
Called
like,
too damn long.
Final edition or something.
Final edition's about right.
Yeah,
you guys were probably halfway through the movie, like Al Pacino going, "Don't waste my motherfucking time."
It's a fat ass movie.
It was long, and I mean, and like watching Al Pacino overact like that for almost 3 hours is a chore in itself. I think I'm gonna vote for Heat because I would like to watch Heat again, but the normal release of it, not the extended cut, hoping that it's trimmed at least 20 minutes out.
I love that. I can't wait to see that version.
I don't want to watch Memento again.
I bet they shave 15 minutes, 14. Let's go to Cap, and then we'll go to Beware for the conclusion of this vote tonight.
My vote is also going to be for Heat. I don't think this movie is as good as I remember it, but I liked it better than Memento. I did not enjoy Memento this time around. Like I said, for obvious reasons, it's just the patience thing for me. I could not get into it. I'd have to literally watch it again. That's how I feel, and that's probably how I felt after watching it the first time.
And that's not going to happen.
A little bit more, right? Exactly. Heat kind of came off as like a little dated. It kind of sort of felt like when we watched The Fugitive. I remember loving The Fugitive and all that.
Yeah,
but
Fugitive versus Heat. Heat wins. Fugitive's still more vulnerable than the Heat. But...
I completely agree with that, and I think that Heat, somehow, like, if it was made today, it could have been like fucking way better and awesome. Like,
that's just fucking interesting, man. That's fucking.
There's just
Heat by Nolan. Heat directed by Nolan.
Oh my God, Heat by Nolan.
Oh
fucking
man!
awesome.
Hey, let's start a petition.
That's exactly the Nolan.
Start a
movie
petition.
I see. For sure, that's a great call.
By Nolan for 2025,
season 3.
I think it's been on the tip of everybody's tongue since the beginning.
And the greatest movie of all time is Heat, the remake by Christopher Nolan, coming into a theater near you in 2024.
So yeah, my vote's for Heat. Beware.
I also vote for Heat, no question about it. One was fun to watch, the other one wasn't fun to watch. That's it.
That's facts. I don't have to say again, I like strange movies, but if you haven't, or you're here because of Memento, I have a feeling you might be here listening to our thread because of Memento, because you have these mixed feelings, or you've rewatched it a couple times, or you thought you recommended it to all your friends on your thread and said, watch this movie. And they're like, awesome. Or some of them are like, I don't know, man, that's just too... It is a first-time viewing movie you want. Now, Donnie Darko, The Fallen Soldier, that only way it could find its way back onto our 64 movie list is if Doc uses his mulligan to bring back Donnie Darko. Here's another movie that is that same thing. The first time you watch it, it can be so rewarding. The second time you watch Donnie Darko, it can be rewarding too. Let's not get into that. Let's get into the hat, because that's what all makes us happy. That's what we know we're going to come back and watch some homework. And there's not many more movies in here, folks. Hat song, please. Let's go do that. Let's go do that. Let's go do that. Let's go do that.
Take your hat off.
Excuse me.
Let's go do that. Let's go do that. Let's go do that. Yes, it definitely is a hat. Boom, 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 boom. All right, upside down, up, right side up. You know what? Anybody got a call?
I think it's gonna be Hell or High Water versus Requiem for a Dream.
Ooh, that's a big call. That's a straight up call. Okay, I like
Please,
that.
Doc, save me.
Here's the movie. It's upside down.
Okay.
It's right side up, and I'm so happy. Goosebumps. R.L. Stein's there. We have stand up immediately off the top movie. Oh, I'm happy about this. Literally, I already know. I don't care. I don't know what it's matching up against. I promise you, homework this week will be a breeze. It'll be a breeze, folks. You're going to love it. Homework this week, you're going to love it, because we're going to go watch Fight Club versus Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah.
And this is going to be fucking enjoyable. I don't care what movie is greater at this point. I care that I get to watch two movies till the next time we come see you in episode 28 with Fight Club versus Eternal Sunshine. Jim Carrey on most definitely his last movie. Brad Pitt on his last movie in the thread. That's facts. Who do we have paired up with Brad Pitt? Forgive me, American History X. Edward Norton's last film. Everybody's last film, because we're getting to the end of the list. I don't think Doc's going to call a mulligan on these. This is going to be easy, stress-free. Fight Club, a very short book, a very short movie, fucking fabulous. Hey, Eternal Sunshine, Jim Carrey should not be underestimated for his thorough, thick chops. And Savage is going to tell us what movie that these could go up against next.
Yeah, so after we do Fight Club versus Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, we will have fully completed the left-hand side of the bracket from top to bottom. So that's a huge, huge win for our thread, the podcast. Also, Heat is going to go up against Parasite.
Interesting.
Interesting. Every time I sign into Hulu, I use the link that's already up from my history. So every time I sign into Hulu, it's Parasite. I see Parasite every time with the little white strip above their eyes. I see it literally every other day.
I tell you what, that movie could go far. That was an excellent movie.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Parasite was really fucking good.
Better than Old Boy, maybe even.
Also, Fight Club versus Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. The winner of that will go up against Whiplash.
Ooh. Wow. Already, that's going to be
juicy,
fair.
That's a juicy second rounder.
Juicy for sure. Like fucking Al Pacino kissing.
Yeah. I'm excited to watch Eternal Sunshine, man. I haven't seen that in a long time. I remember really liking it.
It's a good movie.
So good, man. It is so good. I'm sorry. Who is he supported by? She's fabulous.
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. Oh, beautiful. Somebody's favorite character next week, I promise.
Yeah, so that's got an 8.3 on IMDb, and then Fight Club's an 8.8. Yeah, obviously Fight Club's just a powerhouse too.
Man, I tell you what, Chuck Palahniuk. This book is the quickest read you'll ever read in your life. Literally, you could probably read this book in 3 hours if you wanted to. It is so fucking good. And literally, out of every adapted screenplay book I've read, this is the most true to screenplay from novel that you'll ever see. They literally have everything in the book that is in the movie. Literally everything. It's incredible. And it's a short read. And it's a pretty short movie too. I think 1 hour, 40 minutes, something like that. Are you excited? I'm excited.
I'm excited.
And then memory loss being a key theme as well.
Hey, Savage, real quick before we end this and go to that Beware intro music and just sign out. Why was that Jaguar so dirty? Was it like because he was traveling through that spot with the dirt road every time? But that bitch looks like he was about to be waxed and repainted. What's up with that?
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that. I did notice that, and it just seemed out of place considering everything else seemed very clean.
Well, as far as our thread goes, we're sponsored by numerous people. I will have that Jaguar delivered to me within the next couple of weeks. Savage is going to come over, check under the trunk. We're going to look at it, and maybe we'll have a better explanation of why that Jaguar was so dirty in Memento, the Fallen Soldier. But I will ride that Jaguar like Teddy wish he could have. It's a nice car. And we will see you next week for episode 28, Fight Club versus Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is the full title. A lot of people just
28. Holy shit.
And we only got to go to 32, folks. And then we go to round 2, a much quicker, faster approach to finding out what the greatest movie of all time is. Thank you for tuning into our thread. We love you so much, and we'll see you soon.
I can't help it. I love you.
Forrest, you don't know what love is.
I'm not going to debate you, Jerry. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and debate.
You're a bald-faced liar. A fucking liar.
I mean, God forbid they should make a mistake and forget to steal.
I will not apologize for what I want. Stop trying to control everything and just let go.
I drink it up. Don't bully me.
You like Huey Lewis and the News?
They're okay. Either they don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood.
Hold on to your butts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Our Thread Podcast, bringing our content to you, featuring all it is.
It's official, old buddy. Who has been.
Beware.
From then on, he was known as Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
The Doc.
You're the doc, Doc.
The Cap.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask? Big fuck.
And myself, Savage.
I'm 6'5", 220, and there's 2 of them.